The rice is the problem. Not the fish, not the nori, not the knife. The rice. You have tried this at home. You watched the video, you bought the short grain bag, you rolled it up in the mat and pressed down and the whole thing fell apart. Or it held together but tasted flat, dense, a little sour in the wrong way. You put it on the plate and you ate it because you made it, but you knew. That was not right. In Japan, a sushi apprentice spends the first 2 years of his training doing nothing but making rice. 2 years. No fish, no rolling, no knife work. Just rice, every morning, until his hands know the temperature, without touching a thermometer, and his nose knows the vinegar ratio before he measures it. That is not a story. That is the documented training structure at traditional sushi counters in Tokyo. Everything you have been shown about making sushi at home skips those 2 years. What I am going to do in the next 11 minutes is give you the essential knowledge from those years distilled down to what a home kitchen actually needs, in the order that it actually matters. My father showed me this rice method in Nagano when I was young enough to think it was too simple to matter, and the one time I tried to rush it as a teenager, he made me start the entire pot over without saying a word. I have made it the same way for over 30 years in this kitchen. By the end, you will make rice that holds its shape and tastes of something. You will understand how Japanese chefs think about fish. You will roll a maki that does not fall apart. And you will know the one detail about your bamboo mat that is probably ruining every roll you make. Let us start with the rice. Because the rice is everything. The rice used for sushi is called Shari. That is the Japanese term Shari, and it refers not just to the cooked short grain rice itself, but to the finished seasoned rice, the rice that has been dressed with vinegar, sugar, and salt and cooled to a specific temperature. Shari is not a side dish that happens to go with fish. It is half the flavor of sushi. When you eat a piece of nigiri from a good counter, roughly half of what you taste is the rice. The rice variety matters first. The round, opaque grains labeled koshihikari or calrose at most American stores. A 2-pound bag costs about $4 to $6 at any Asian grocery. Long grain rice will not hold. Medium grain will not hold. The starch structure is different, and no technique corrects it. Start with the right grain, or stop here. The patches in your roll, the flat taste, the fall-apart center, none of that comes from bad technique if the grain is wrong. It comes from the grain. Walk away. The water ratio most home cooks use is wrong. The bag says 1 to 1, 1 cup rice, 1 cup water. For sushi, you want slightly less water, about 10 to 15% less than the standard cooking instruction. The rice should be firm and individual, not soft and clumped. Rinse the rice until the water runs clear 4 or 5 times. That step removes excess surface starch, and it matters more than any seasoning decision you will make. Every week on this channel, one honest fix for your home and your yard, 30 years of methods tested by hand, nothing sold to you. If that is useful to you, subscribe and the next one will find you. Now the seasoning. The vinegar mixture for Shari is rice vinegar, sugar, and salt, combined in roughly a 4 to 1 to half ratio by volume. 4 parts vinegar, 1 part sugar, half part salt, warmed gently until the sugar dissolves. About 2 tablespoons of vinegar to 2 teaspoons of sugar to 1 teaspoon of salt for every 2 cups of dry rice. And you are in the right range. The exact amounts adjust to your taste, but start there. This is not precise laboratory chemistry. It is a simple ratio learned by feel over time. Here is the mistake that almost every home tutorial makes, including the ones with millions of views. They mix the vinegar into the rice in a metal bowl and stir it. A metal bowl traps heat and moisture. The rice sweats inside it, the surface becomes tacky in the wrong way, and the vinegar does not absorb evenly. Traditional sushi preparation uses a wide, shallow wooden tub for this step. Wood absorbs the excess moisture while the vinegar soaks in. If you don't already own one, a wide wooden salad bowl works just as well, and either one runs about $10 to $20 if you need to buy it. Fold the vinegar into the hot rice with a rice paddle. Do not stir. Fold and cut sideways like you are turning cards over. Fan the rice as you go, or have someone fan it for you. Yuki stands beside me with a folded piece of cardboard when I make this. I have learned not to argue. The rice is ready when it is glossy, slightly tacky but not sticky, and has cooled to just above body temperature, warm to the touch but not hot. That temperature matters. Too hot and it will continue cooking the fish. Too cold and it will not bind. Now the fish, and there is a real misunderstanding here worth correcting. The term sashimi grade has no legal definition in the United States. No regulatory agency certifies it. It is a marketing label, nothing more. Honestly, just skip it. Any advice that treats that label as a safety guarantee. What the term is meant to signal, when used honestly, is that the fish has been handled and frozen according to FDA parasite destruction protocols. The FDA recommends freezing most raw fish at -4 degrees Fahrenheit for 7 days before eating it raw. That is the actual standard, not a label. A freezing history, here is the detail most guides skip. Most home freezers only reach about 0 degrees Fahrenheit, and 0 is not cold enough. The standard requires -4, a temperature ordinary home freezers were not built to hit. That means the right move is not to freeze fish yourself at home and call it done. It means buying fish from a supplier who has already frozen it to that standard, and asking them directly whether they have. If you cannot get a clear answer, treat that fish as one you cook, not one you eat raw. This means the question to ask your fishmonger is not whether the fish is sashimi grade. The question is whether it has been frozen to FDA parasite reduction standards. Most good fish counters at Japanese grocery stores can answer that directly. For home sushi, the safest starting fish are salmon, almost universally farm-raised and treated to parasite standards, and tuna, specifically the dark red big eye or yellowfin portions. Farmed salmon is consistent. It is not the most prestigious fish at a Tokyo counter, but it is what your refrigerator and your confidence can handle on a Saturday afternoon. About $12 to $18 a pound at a Japanese grocery, and it holds together cleanly. Japanese chefs at high-level counters often age their tuna 2 to 3 days in a carefully controlled refrigerator, wrapped in clean cloth, the surface dry. What aging does is allow enzymatic activity to deepen the umami, the deep savory quality in the flesh, to deepen as the proteins break down slowly. A fresh-cut tuna loin is good. 2-day aged piece is noticeably better. Try it once and you will understand immediately. Tell me in the comments, what fish have you used when you tried making sushi at home? Did it hold up? 1. Now the forming. And I want to start with nigiri because most home tutorials start with maki rolls. And that is backwards. Nigiri trains your hands first. It teaches you the correct pressure for sushi rice before you ever pick up a bamboo mat. The rice for nigiri is formed into a small oval, roughly 20 grams per piece, about 1 heaping tablespoon. The pressure must be firm enough to hold the shape, but light enough that the rice still separates on your tongue when you eat it. Compressed on the outside, some air still inside. That is the target. The traditional hand motion is a 2-finger press and fold. The fish slice rests across the fingers of one hand. A small rice oval goes on top. The thumb and index finger of the other hand press down along the top edge, folding the rice to the fish, then the piece is flipped and pressed once more from the top. Practiced slowly, this takes about 15 seconds per piece. Once the motion is in your hands, it takes 5. Make nigiri 10 or 15 times before you move to maki. Your hands will understand rice pressure by then, and that understanding carries directly into rolling. Now the bamboo mat, and this is where most home sushi falls apart. Literally, the mat is called a Makisu. Most home cooks use it dry and bare, lay down the nori, press rice across the whole surface, and roll. 2 problems. First, a bare mat sticks to the rice when you unroll it, pulling the surface apart. Second, rice pressed across the entire sheet of nori leaves no room at the far edge to seal the roll. Both are fixable in 30 seconds. Wrap your Makisu completely in plastic wrap before you start. Every time, the plastic prevents sticking and wipes clean in seconds. It takes one sheet of plastic wrap and it solves both problems in under 30 seconds. The second fix is the first third rule. Place your nori on the mat, rough side up, spread your rice across only the front 2/3 of the nori. Leave the far third bare. That bare strip is your seal. When you roll forward and tuck the edge under, the bare nori touches the rice of the roll and the moisture bonds it shut. No bare strip, no seal, no intact roll. The tuck itself, press your fingers over the near edge of the mat, knuckles down, and roll it forward firmly in one motion while your thumbs hold the back of the mat. Then squeeze. Not a squeeze that crushes, a squeeze that shapes. Hold for 5 seconds, roll forward slightly, hold again, set the roll seam side down for 2 minutes before you cut. The seam finishes sealing on its own. The inside-out roll, rice on the outside, nori in the middle, the kind most Americans call a California roll, was developed in Los Angeles in the 1960s, not Japan. It is not a more advanced technique. It is a different one. Honestly, just skip it until the standard maki is solid in your hands. The plastic-wrapped mat handles either version cleanly when you are ready. Before you plate anything, 3 details that take 3 minutes and change everything. Wet your knife. A dry blade drags through rice and compresses the cut. Run the blade under cold water, wipe it once with a damp cloth, then cut. Wipe and re-wet between every single cut. Wasabi is pale green, almost gray-green, grated from a fresh rhizome. What is sold in most American tubes and packets is Western horseradish dyed green. It is sharp, but it is not wasabi. Fresh wasabi rhizome, when you can find it, costs more than the tube version. Expect $10 to $15 for a piece that lasts several servings. If you can find it at a Japanese grocery, try it once. The flavor is entirely different. Warm, complex, fading quickly rather than lingering. When you eat nigiri, touch the fish side to the soy sauce, not the rice. The rice absorbs soy sauce and falls apart, and the salt overwhelms the vinegar balance. Fish to soy, 1 brief touch. Plate in odd numbers, 3 pieces, 5. This is not superstition. Odd groupings read as natural arrangement. Even groupings read as a counted row. It is a small thing, and it matters to the eye. That is the presentation you want. One honest limit before you serve this to anyone. Raw fish, prepared exactly this way, is still raw fish. If you are pregnant, if you are serving young children, or if anyone at your table has a compromised immune system or a chronic illness that affects how their body handles foodborne illness, the standard advice is to avoid raw fish entirely, no matter how carefully it was frozen or handled. That is not this method failing. That is simply who raw fish is not for. The rice is still the problem. It will always be the rice. Fix the rice first, fix it every time, and the rest follows from there. Next week, the knife, how Japanese home cooks keep a single blade sharp enough to do everything in this kitchen for 20 years without a whetstone budget.